Joining us today is Nitsana Darshan-Leitner, a fearless lawyer, the founder of Shurat HaDin. It's an honor to have you here today.
Hi, Inbal. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Definitely. You are one of the first lawyers to use civil lawsuits against terror groups. What inspired you to do that?
The Second Intifada. It
Okay.
just the year of 2000, Second Intifada broke out. We were fresh out of law school, and we decided, me and my colleagues, to take a role in the war against terrorism by doing what lawyers do best, go after the pocketbooks of the terror organizations. And although everybody thought that it's impossible, how do you file a lawsuit against a terror organization? What do you do with it? They will not come to court. How do you serve them? How do you locate them? And what will you do with a judgment? We felt that there should be a message that Jewish blood is not cheap and somebody has to pay for killing Jews. So we went and filed lawsuits against Hamas, Islamic Jihad, PLO, Palestine Authority. And in the United States, we filed lawsuits against countries that sponsor terrorism. And we started winning in court.
Wow. And did you do any research before you went after? Isn't this something you really need to research on and
Well,
do?
absolutely, because we are looking for a good case to take that we're not going to lose. And that was the lynching case of the two soldiers in the Ramallah police station in the beginning of the Intifada, which was a cut and clear case because if you recall, this lynching was done by Palestinian policemen in the Palestinian Authorities police station in Ramallah. Done deal. However, how do you sue the Palestinian Authority? What's the entity of the Palestinian Authority? They will come and say that they are a state or they have immunity, they are a sovereign state. They will come and claim foreign non-convenience and the choice of law, and you name it. And yes, it required legal research. And for other cases, we needed to do forensic research. Who committed the attack? Who participated? What's the nature of the terrorists? Who supported it? Which country stood behind it? Involved a lot of research.
And your work bringing justice to terror families of victims. How does that responsibility lie with you?
Look, it's very difficult. On one hand, these terror victims have to revive the case when they stand on the witness stand and they have to tell the story. When they have to sign an affidavit, it's very, very hard to bring them back to the scene of the attack and to describe what happened. On the other hand, once they pass this motion, they feel that they are fighting back. They feel that they are no longer victims. And when they get a judgment recognizing their terrorists as the evil part and they can get compensations and they can rebuild their life, it's worth it all. And it's hard for me to sit down and to listen and to hear it. And it's painful. And I recall court scenes where a family went on the witness stand and told the story, and there was no dry eye left in the
Wow.
courtroom. The stenographer and the lawyers and the judge himself.
Is there a story or a challenging moment emotionally, obviously, and, judge, in a courtroom that you found that was, stayed with you until today?
Um, I would not, maybe not the court case, but I remember young guy comes to me. It was his name is Menashe Gavish. Very, very young, met me in Jerusalem and said that his family was massacred by Hamas terrorists. It's a very known story. On Passover 2021, a terrorist from Hamas invaded the Gavish family's house in Elon Moreh and killed everyone that sat in the living room, the father, the mother, the grandfather, and he injured the oldest brother who was an officer in the elite unit, Sayeret Matkal, and the oldest brother called his brother from upstairs to bring him down the weapon. He wanted to kill the terrorist. The brother gave him the weapon, but the terrorist got him first, and he was killed. His wife took her baby and ran underneath the table and hid there for long minutes until the whole thing settled. So he came to me and he said he wanted to bring a lawsuit against Hamas, against the Palestinian Authority, who incited for this terrorism, on behalf of him and the rest of his brothers and sisters. And I said, you know, in order to file a lawsuit, you need to sign a power of attorney. Who is the guardian, legal guardian on the brothers and sisters, which I assume are very young? He said, I am. And he was 22 years old.
Wow. And he's the only remain of that family?
Him and his brothers and sisters, we brought a lawsuit. We won a judgment. We found the Palestinian Authority responsible for this attack. They received compensations. And now we are enforcing another judgment against Hamas, which, I think reached to 500 million shekels so far.
Wow. And this is all literally funding by people that understand how important this is to have someone, saving us and protecting us.
So Shurat HaDin is a non-for-profit organization.
Yeah.
We are fighting Israel's enemies in court. We are bringing any legal action against those who want to delegitimize the Jewish state, BDS movement, those who boycott Israel, those who threaten with war crime allegations against IDF soldiers. We are protecting them and the Israeli state in court, in the International Criminal Court. We are blocking the Gaza flotilla when they want to come and breach the sea blockade that Israel has over Gaza. We fought Airbnb and Ben and Jerry's that wanted to boycott Israel because they no longer want to deal with occupied territories, and so on and so on. And it's based on donations. It's a non-for-profit. Donations are tax deductible anywhere, but this is what we get. We don't receive any funding from the government. It's totally apolitical organization, and this is what we are based on.
Wow. And you're also helping Jews not only in Israel, but around the world. I know that you are fighting against, what's going on in the colleges and campuses in America. So you're just there for Jews around the world?
100%. 100%. Antisemitism is on the rise, and you have to find ways to fight back legally. So we brought lawsuits against Harvard University, and we brought lawsuits against the SJP, Students for Justice in Palestine, for aiding and abetting Hamas. And we filed lawsuits against Al Jazeera, that is totally against Israel, anti-Semite, the most horrible media outlet there. Again, for providing media services to Hamas. These are unprecedented cases. Nobody sued SJP, nobody sued Al Jazeera, but we feel that you cannot let these organizations go, provide services to Hamas, spread their propaganda, enrich and send out the ideology and support Hamas, and without paying, without anything. There are tremendous effect for SJP, which is burning the campuses, which is inciting students to go against Israel in massive demonstration. There is tremendous impact for Al Jazeera.
Wow.
So they have to be sued, and we do it on behalf of Jews around the world, on behalf of victims elsewhere. We don't have a choice. We have to fight these anti-Semites as well.
We do. These are challenging days in the world where it feels like the media is against us, and it feels like a lot of the world is against us, and you are fighting against huge terror groups, if it's Hamas, if it's UNRWA. And were there times where you felt that you're giving up because it's fighting against, like, no one's helping us?
Never. I
That's
want to tell
amazing.
you, after October 7th, obviously we doubled our work.
Oh, yeah.
And we took new initiatives, like a case against the Red Cross for abandoning the hostages.
Wow.
The Red Cross has an obligation to go and visit in armed zones, areas, the prisoners from both sides. And he's doing it in all the wars since its existence. But when it comes to Israel, it fails. He doesn't want to. It's not that he could not, he just did not. We sued the Red Cross. We also sued UNRWA for participating in the massacre and helping Hamas hiding rockets and missiles and launchers in their schools and kindergartens. And these lawsuits, you may think that there is no chance to win them because they both will claim immunity. The Red Cross, international organization, UNRWA, a UN organization. How would you sue them? And I know it's going to take a long time, but I know that I can have a way to break this immunity, to break these organizations. And after I filed these lawsuits, the Red Cross had a lot of difficulties finding a lawyer to represent them in the court.
Interesting.
And until today, he could not file a defense against our allegations, the victims' allegations, the hostages' allegations. And UNRWA, where they thought that they are immune because they are UN subsidiary of, and they are entitled to immunity, the State Department came down, the Department of Justice as well, and said UNRWA does not have immunity.
Wow.
UNRWA, who's involved with terrorism, cannot enjoy immunity.
So you do feel that there's some justice in the courts when it comes to literally down to the law?
Yeah, first of all, the victims will always get their day in court, which is important. But second, most of the times you can win. I'm not saying that there are cases that will be dismissed based on legal issues. It's never on evidence because you always can prove your case. But sometimes there are legal arguments that block you from going forward, like our cases against the social media giants. We sued Facebook, Google, Twitter for aiding and abetting terrorism because every terror organization feels free to have a Facebook page and a Google account and Twitter account, whereas it's a total violation of the Anti-Terrorism Act in the United States. It prohibits any American organization to provide any sort of services to a designated organization. And the reason these social media companies continue doing it fearlessly is because they have immunity.
Yeah.
Because Section 230 of the Communication Decency Act grants them blanket immunity from legal proceedings.
Wow.
And yet, I took these cases and I went all the way along with them until we reached the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court of the United States did not dismiss the case. He said, immunity with all due respect, perhaps we have to revisit Section 230. Perhaps the social media companies that in the days of the beginning of the Intifada were granted immunity because Congress wanted to keep the internet open and to let the internet flourish, perhaps these conditions are not valid anymore.
Yeah.
Now we know that social media have algorithms, they have tools, they can control the content. Why should they be immune from content?
Exactly.
So cases which we took, which we didn't believe that there is a way perhaps to pursue, here we go. Still in court.
Amazing. Yeah, well, we had a lot of issues at the beginning of the war to deal with, Instagram and TikTok until this day.
Absolutely.
It's almost impossible to show the truth,
100%.
but it feels like the other side is constantly able to do that.
They outnumber us.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
And we have to find, Inbal, a way
Yeah.
for the Jewish nation, for the Jewish mind to overcome this outnumber game. We have to find the technology, the AI, the ability to overcome our enemies also in this field.
Seems
We
like you
are the
have
startup nation, right?
Yeah. Seems like you have another purpose and something else.
Absolutely.
talking about that, you're doing such great and amazing things for the Jewish people, Jewish population, the country. Is there any professional or personal dream that you want to achieve still?
I want to take this fight to the national level.
Hmm.
I don't think it should be only in the hands of non-for-profits, of the private sector, not at all. It
Hmm.
has to be a fight that the government is taking and leading.
Yeah.
In the end, our resources are limited. And if we scale this fight to the 10th level, we can beat the terrorism.
Hmm.
We can really dismantle Hamas. We can really put pressure on Qatar to negotiate truly and make the best efforts to bring back the hostages. We can do that, but we need to do it through the government. So my
Hmm.
personal inspiration is to become a political leader that can utilize the knowledge, the experience, all we did in the past 25 years and bring it to the national level.
And legally, that's possible? Is that something we can do?
This is something, yes, absolutely.
Hmm.
The Israeli government, the American government, or any westernized government can take the fight against terror organizations. Um, it's so clever and it's so impactful because think about it. If let's say the government or the military find a bank account that belonged to Hezbollah and they freeze it. So they take only the money in the bank account, $40 million, $400 million, whatever. If I have a judgment against Hezbollah, I can issue restraining orders not against this specific bank account, but against all the bank accounts that Hezbollah has.
Wow.
It's a widespread injunction.
Mm.
So I can block funding 10 times, maybe 100 times more than what the government can. And this is only one example. So the legal tool is endless and it's so creative that you can really utilize it to block funding, to freeze funding, to enforce your judgment, and to bring the terror organizations to a total bankruptcy.
Hmm. Well, I'm hoping and dreaming that that's going to happen very, very soon. You have your hands full with everything that's going on.
Yeah, yeah,
We've had a few very rough years in
yeah.
Israel.
We don't have a
And
choice. We don't have a choice. I always say that Hamas is such a horrible terror organization, and the goal of the war, one of them was to dismantle Hamas 100%. And the IDF will come and, God willing, will kill all the terrorists of Hamas. And they will destroy all the ammunition and weapons arsenal of Hamas. Fine. But Hamas remains as an idea and it remains in Judea and Samaria and abroad. And these people will find their way to crawl back to the Gaza Strip and revive Hamas and let it become a terror organization again. So if you want to totally destroy this opportunity to dismantle this option, you have to destroy the financial infrastructure of Hamas, not to let it rise ever again.
Nitsana, you're an inspiration. And
Thank
I
you.
really hope there's going to be many more people like you in the
Hopefully.
world fighting for us. Thank you so much for joining us today and telling your story.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.